Hi everybody and big welcome to a cEDH deck tech video for Daryl, Hunter of Walkers. Now some of you might say, what? Why him? What's so special about this guy? Is Gruul 4 CMC? That's not that hot. I will summarize him with this. He is a very interactive commander with a lot of card drawing abilities on him. At the beginning of your upkeep, you will create 3 zombie tokens, walkers to be more specifically, but all walkers are considered zombies. And his other passive ability is, whenever a zombie an opponent controls dies, draw a card. He also has a tap ability to deal 2 damage to target creature. Now you might still be skeptic, and rightly so, but I can tell you that I have actually play tested. Okay, I haven't actually played this deck myself ever, but I've played a lot against this deck, and I gotta say, it actually works. It is getting there. It is not that easy to see it in theory, but once you see it in practice, this is a really oppressive deck that really hunt down creatures all over the map and draws a whole bunch of cards in the process. In fact, this deck is actually built by a patron of mine, Kablamio. As always, link in the description below of the video. Now the first thing that we see in a green deck, by the way, is that we only have 8 creatures. And when we look at them, we don't have a single mana dork. Well, we have Dockside, Elvish Spirit Guide and Simian Spirit Guide, but that's kinda it. Well, we also have Tinderwall, but we don't have a single Bird of Paradise, Lanner Elf, none of those 1 CMC green mana dorks. And the reason why is actually pretty simple. You see, they contradict completely to this deck's game plan, because this is a board wipe deck. Here we have Blasphemous Act, we have their Pyroclasm, we have Whip Flare, Volcanic Fallout, instant speed can't be countered. You see, this is a board wipe deck. Now at first glance at Daryl, the usual comment is that it's a group hug commander giving away creatures to your opponents. However, with 1 Pyroclasm, we're killing all of those walker zombies, including our opponent's mana dorks, Tumnus and Toughness 2 hate bears that we don't like, including drawing a lot of cards with the Daryl triggers. So that is suddenly a lot of card draw, but there's more to it than that. So we've dealt 2 damage to everything. Here's Crom, a zombie with toughness 4. You can see here, toughness 4. It doesn't die to Pyroclasm, but you can still tap Daryl after the Pyroclasm and deal 2 more damage to the Crom, sending Crom to the graveyard command zone, which is also giving you a card draw. Crom is a very common commander you often see, and it's really good to remove him with a Pyroclasm and your Daryl simply. But Crom, of course, isn't the only thing. We're easily killing Thrasius with this little trick as well. But this also means that we can play a bunch of really cool anti-creature stacks effects like Drop of Honey, which is, by the way, a really expensive card. Now, the entire deck that we looked at is 100% proxy. I mean, Drop of Honey is like extremely expensive due to being on the reserve list. But if you want to find a cheaper version of this, there's a new print of it. By the way, it's not a reprint, it is like a white version, so it's not possible to have that card, the white one, inside this deck. But if you want to have something like Drop of Honey in a cheaper, more affordable way, then you have this alternative. They are doing the exactly same thing. At the beginning of your upkeep, destroy the creature with the least power. It can't be regenerated. If 2 or more creatures are tied with the least power, you choose one of them. When there are no creatures in battlefield, sacrifice Drop of Honey. But the thing is, there's always going to be a creature in play. Daryl is making sure of it. But we do have another really cool and also really expensive board wiping card that we just have to talk about. Tabernacle at the Pendrell Vale, one of my favorite lands in the game. And when I actually saw the Tabernacle in play and I had those walkers, I really felt yuck. You mean, imagine you're in that position. You get a bunch of creatures, and when they die, your opponent is drawing cards. You don't want that to happen, but suddenly you need to pay mana to prevent him from drawing the cards. And yeah, that is annoying. This entire video is just completely opposite. I mean, normally I'm sitting and talking about how it feels like when you're playing the deck. Now I'm talking about how it feels like playing against this deck. And let's talk a little bit about me. Now, my favorite commander is by all time cEDH Weatherlight Captain, a creature-heavy focus deck with a lot of creature hate pairs and a lot of mana dorks that is getting completely demolished by this game plan. I cannot stress enough how much I hate playing against Daryl when I'm playing cEDH. But we also have commanders like Venota, a creature-heavy stacks deck as well. And yeah, this Venota commander and other commanders like Venota are definitely getting bullied heavily by Daryl. You're going to board wipe all of their hate bears, all that little cute Ragavani, and then you're going to tap Daryl to deal 2 damage to Venota and she's gone. And this can happen repetitively over and over, as Daryl is just drawing so many cards, drawing into more and more board wipes throughout the entire match. So if you're losing a lot of games to Venota, then Daryl might definitely be a great option to consider. So now Daryl definitely looks like the best commander in the entire game, right? Definitely not. There's this card, you might have heard about it, that he doesn't really solve. It's Ad Nauseam, or well, non-creature storm stuff, or well, non-creature decks in general. Suddenly he doesn't do that good anymore. And now we're going to talk about something really important to think about when you're piloting this deck. How much are you going to kill a player? How much do you actually need a player? Venota has a lot of great tools inside her hate bear deck to deal with the Ad Nauseam. You have a lot of tools to destroy Venota, but you don't have a lot of tools to destroy Ad Nauseam. You might actually need to have Venota alive, just for a little while, just for a short moment. Let her deal with Ad Nauseam, let her put some stuff into play that the Ad Nauseam can't deal with, just to delay the game, make the game a little bit longer, sit there and kill a few zombies here and there with Daryl's ability, maybe a tiny board wipe, just a tiny board wipe, but don't kill Venota completely. You might really need to have Venota alive. And this is why I think the 2 damage board wipes are somewhat of the best, because Archon of Emeria is a great card controlling the Ad Nauseam non-creature storm decks, but you're not killing it with the Pyroclasp. It's still staying alive, but you can kill it whenever you want to later, simply casting the Pyroclasp, then tapping Daryl and doing the last damage that you need to get rid of the Archon when you need to get rid of the Archon. However, we might go into a pod without Venota at all. We might need some tools to actually deal with Ad Nauseam ourselves. Now Gruul has a lot of different solutions to this. There's a lot of really cool hate bears, like Collector Hoof, that's gonna die to our board wipe, so we can't do that. Or we could, but it's gonna be a little bit counterproductive. We're gonna put a hate bear into play and then we're going to kill it? So we should look at things that we don't board wipe, that we can play, that will deal with the Ad Nauseam, like this. Fawn of Amnesty. And it's an artifact that we're not board wiping that makes non-creature spells cost 1 more to play. Great. I like this. We're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. Actually, we're not. Let's actually take a pause here. We're gonna come back to Fawn and Ad Nauseam pretty soon, but first, we're gonna talk a little bit about how we are actually winning the game. So, we have 8 creatures in the deck. We are definitely not going to swing for the win. We are not on the beatdown plan. We have to combo somehow. And here's where that Fawn is actually useless, because we are a storm deck ourselves, which I think is pretty amazing. A Gruul storm deck. Here we have Birgi, God of Storytelling. Here we have one of the deck's finishers, Sentinel Tower. We have an Underworld Breach, and we have Reap. A really interesting card that we're going infinite with. So let's take a closer look at what this actually does. The green generic instant. Return any number of target cards from your graveyard to your hand. You cannot choose more cards than the number of black permanents target opponent control. So there usually isn't that many black permanents in a game. You have things like Tymna, Deathrite Shaman, Oppo Agent, Daffy Voidwalker, but the max this is usually giving you is 1 to 2, and that isn't that great. However, with Daryl, Hunter of Walkers, you're giving away black stuff to your opponents. You're giving away 3 black permanents to be exactly. In 2 turn cycles, you're returning 6 cards from your graveyard back to your hand. You're not usually gonna get 6 because usually the zombies are dying through somewhere in the process. You could get 6, but you're usually gonna get 3, but 3 is usually gonna be enough as well. And then with the rest of the targets, you're just returning a whole bunch of various rituals. Manamorphous is great here because it's kinda free to cast, converting all of the red mana that you're gonna get from Jeska's Will and Rite of Flame. And yeah, by the way, you can actually use Rite of Flame to draw into Reap that you're putting on top of your library with the Noxus Revival. You could also use Manamorphous to get Reap to your hand from the Noxus Revival trick as well. But with this, you're basically generating infinite mana. But we've also established that we can loop whatever card we want, so a basic lightning bolt could do the job here. And by the way, we're going to draw into them with the Jeska's Will or the Manamorphous. So we're going to dig through the entire deck as well. But also, if we just have a card draw spell, we can loop that card draw spell as well once we have infinite mana. Reap demands a build-up. You need to fuel your graveyard with a lot of stuff that you can puzzle together a cool win with. But the puzzle could be very different, so it doesn't really matter what you have. Just fuel your graveyard with a lot of stuff, and Reap and your creativity will solve it. Reap is a really fun combo because when you're winning with it, it's a huge puzzle, and that is really fun and thought and creativity challenging. Normally you pair it with Painter's Servant, because with Painter's Servant you can just say black and everything is black. So now Reap is going to return like close to your entire graveyard. But with Daryl as the commander, you don't need Painter's Servant. Another combo we could definitely include inside this deck is the mono-red dual custom mage with Heat Shimmer and Twin Flame. Great 2-card combo. It is actually not inside this deck, as you can see there's no dual custom mage here, but I actually think that it should be. But well, it's not my deck and you could build it however you want to. To give this deck a little bit more credit, we're also on the Furestorm and Storm Kiln Artist that is going to generate infinite treasures. Nice! Now this one actually demands a bit of explaining, but also creates a great opportunity to criticize Wizards of the Coast that actually have printed a card that goes infinite with itself. They actually promised to never do this, but here, Furestorm does it. So when you cast this spell, copy it for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. You may choose new targets for the copies. So if you cast your commander once, you're creating a copy of Furestorm, and that's all we need. Copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So let's say we have a Storm Kiln Artist in play. Let's say there's a spell on the stack, whatever spell, doesn't really matter. Then we cast Furestorm on that spell. Boom, trigger, we're creating a copy of Furestorm that is targeting the original Furestorm, which is then creating a... When that copy of Furestorm resolves, we're creating a new copy of Furestorm, targeting the original Fury Storm that is still on the stack, still targeting that one spell that didn't really matter. Let's say it's a Demonic Tutor on the stack. So now we're creating a new copy of Fury Storm that is now gonna choose a new target. So let's choose Fury Storm again, the original copy of Fury Storm. So this sounded a little bit strange, so I actually looked at the errata, or well, the wizard's own text on it. The copy is created on the stack, so it's not cast, and therefore should be fine. Abilities that trigger when a player casts a spell won't trigger. That means, for example, the Furestorm copies may target Furestorm itself, Wizard's own words, but they won't trigger the copies when you cast this spell, and it won't increase the number of copies spells you end up with. So nothing should theoretically happen, except that it will happen or something, because Storm Kiln Artist triggers on each thing. Trust me, it works. We even asked judges on it. But how good is it actually? Daryl doesn't do anything with infinite treasures. Well, infinite treasures is always great, and you should probably be able to squeeze out a win somehow from that, especially with a Storm deck that we've kind of established already, and with a lot of card draws, so we should have something here. But now that we've looked at how we're going to win the game, we need to go back and talk about ad nauseum. Daryl really plays a great Storm deck. He has Reap, that is an amazing card for Daryl, together with a lot of really cool Storm pathways with his amazing card draw. However, Adnos is really hard to interact with in Gruul colors without great stacks cards that are hurting Storm. We could play those, but we're going to hurt our own combo as well. And that means that Daryl's true power level could be a little bit questionable, because he has a really good game plan versus creature heavy stacks decks, but is lacking the potential interactions versus ad nauseam Storm decks. However, this could be tweaked heavily. You see, Daryl has a really great card drawing ability on him. And if you're able to draw a lot of cards, your win con doesn't really matter that much. And that is why I want to emphasize and highlight this combo once more. And suddenly we could actually consider having Fawn of Amnestist and variants to Fawn inside this deck that is great at dealing with the Oddnows, but doesn't really affect this. Okay, it's making the combo one more expensive, but that's not a big deal. So there are possibilities of change, there are possibilities of tweaks, and I think that this is a commander you should try to pick up if you think he's going to be great versus your creature heavy stacks metagame, because he can be really oppressive in those matches. Well, that's it for me. Hope you got inspired and you learned something new. Take care guys, see you next time. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and you wanna support me, feel free to share my videos or even checking out my Patreon page. Also, purchasing cards from the TCG Players website using the affiliate link in the description below of the video will also help the channel grow. So a big thank you to all of you.